Hey, everybody, and welcome once again to the Fart Fetish Podcast. It's that podcast where we seek to find the answers to the what, where, how, and sometimes why of fart fetish, and try to help give a nuanced picture of the people that have fetishes. I'm your host, Raj. Watch for new episodes every first Friday of the month on fartfetishpodcast.com, as well as most major podcast platforms. You can also support me and the show by checking out the ad-supported erotic fart content on thefartcloset.com. And now I'd like to introduce Alan to the podcast. Alan is a thoughtful and introspective guest who shares his lifelong journey with his fetish, from early childhood curiosity to a deeper understanding of intimacy and connection as an adult. Alan discusses the challenges of growing up with unique desires in a world that often stigmatizes taboos, the role of the internet in discovering community, and how his views on fetish and relationships have evolved over time. He also opens up about the balance between fantasy and reality, the importance of authenticity, and the ways kink has influenced his personal growth and self-acceptance. Let's get right into the Fart Fetish Podcast. Thanks very much for being here, Alan. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, including, what does this fetish and sexuality look like for you?
Okay, so about myself, 33. Um, I've been into this like ever since I was a little kid. I guess for whatever reason, even before I was like aware of sex or what we think of as that in today's world, it was just something that I found interesting. It's kind of like an intimate thing, a lot of kids like to joke around about toilet humor, and it was as I grew up, like I thought that would pop up like a lot of times, like early in the morning, like before I wake up, I would have, thoughts about this, fantasies, among other things too, like giant women or something like that. Um, and it was always something I thought like only happened to me, because no one would talk about having strange thoughts like that ever. And now, as I got older, I did look around on the internet. It was a type of thing where when I was around like 12, 13, 14, the internet was still young. And, you can look around and you wouldn't really find much like the way you do today. So, I was able to find, you know, porn clips here and there. As a kid, I couldn't put my credit card in and get access to a whole lot of stuff. So it was really just limited to what you could scrounge up for free. And yeah, it was, I don't know, I think for whatever reason, I might have looked up like some fart searches, and it wasn't really much to find, but every here and there, you did find some stuff, and I don't know, I guess I did take a liking to it.
For sure. For sure. That makes a lot of sense, too, because I felt the same way very similarly before I'd seen, content on the internet, communities on the internet, the Queen of Lizzie's forums being one of the places where I
Yes, I remember
hung
that
out.
one. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Well, what aspects, themes, scenarios around this kind of material do you like, or do you tend to gravitate towards,
Uh,
whether it be these days
well,
or
like I
back
said,
then?
yeah, like yeah, back then it was really just whatever I could find because, like I said, there wasn't much available. Uh, I think like one of the first videos I remember finding was like a YouTube video. It was like a group of Japanese girls, like schoolgirls, like farting on this one dude,
I think I
and
recall that video.
yeah, and that was actually like the first time I found YouTube was like when I stumbled into that video, and then when YouTube became like a very popular thing after that, I'm like, oh wow, it's kind of interesting how I found it. Uh, but yeah, back to the scenarios though. Um, it does take on like a domination element in a lot of these videos. Usually with the woman being dominant, obviously. Uh, I got into that for a while when I was younger. I don't know. I used to take a lot of Adderall, and then that would kind of enhance that. It would be like a hypersexuality, and I would kind of dive into that fantasy. As I got older, like I haven't done that in a really long time. I've been off of everything for years, so I've just moved towards a different way of thinking as a person. I like to make a more genuine connection with people. And I think for me, it's more about intimacy now than it is about diving into an unrealistic fantasy. And I get more satisfaction from that. So yeah, a lot of time I'll still watch a video where they have that element in there, but I don't watch it as if I'm like trying to mentally put myself in there anymore. It's I don't know, just something you watch in passing. I guess it's just an evolution of consciousness for me, and now it's more just about observing, connecting with someone. Like farts are kind of like a bonding thing. It's an intimate. Even if you don't have that fetish, I think most people can kind of see that. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think people who have come on this show have talked about the camaraderie element. I do think if you get analytical about it, it's basically another side of the coin of intimacy. But for sure, it is a different. I mean, certainly not to say it's definitionally the same, but they're both like camaraderie is what we feel with the people we're close to, as is intimacy. I guess that's what I mean by tying them together in such a way. Um, do you feel you have any other kinks that are, whether it's related or unrelated to the fart fetish, particularly?
Uh, I don't know. I was making out with this girl one time and she choked me, and I like that. I don't know if it was so much like the actor that she just took the initiative to do it. Um,
Sure.
I don't know. I guess I what I don't like is when someone just lies there, and I like there to be like you know will on both sides of the interaction. Um, anytime like a woman surprises me, I think that's pretty cool. Uh, I think like part of that, with the fart thing is it is something out of the ordinary. Like farts are kind of eclectic, in the way they smell and sound. It does surprise you. Like, oh wow, you weren't really expecting it to smell like that, or
Sure.
if you know what I'm talking about with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Would you could you think of any other elements that you think of in terms of surprise? In terms of like women and like intimacy and such? Or that you've run into?
Yeah, and I think yeah, the persona we put on in public is never really the whole person. It's just the tip of the iceberg. And a lot of times when you get to know someone better, whether it's just by spending more time with them or seeing them in a different context, or if you get intimate with them, you're seeing a different side of them. And I like the study of people in that way. Like when I build a relationship with someone and you get to see other sides of them, it's interesting to me. Um, because as you get older, you've seen more and more of what the world is, and it seems to be a lot of the same. And it's good to find something interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree for sure. I mean, I'm definitely one who is I don't know what the word would be, but like I feel like I must go out of in the world without really a persona, or I don't know how, or I don't enjoy that. So I tend to look for people who are not putting out personas, but that's pretty hard to find. Most people are not willing to be vulnerable enough with their
Mhm.
own self out in the world, and that can be somewhat difficult for a person like me,
Yeah.
who is looking for that authenticity.
I did want to talk about that too. Like, I had kept it to myself for a long time. It
The
was one thing I
fetish.
was like really afraid of talking about. I didn't want to admit it to anybody. Like, I would always like delete my history on the computer. Um, Even like in my high school art class, we would just spend all the time like chatting and talking. And like, I kind of hinted that I had a secret, and they tried to get it out of me. And I never told them. Um, and then in college, like I ended up telling a couple of like girls that lived in my dorm, and they actually thought it was sweet. They're like, "Yeah, you know what though? Like that's kind of cool of you because you're not just saying to a girl who farts like, oh, like you whore. You're being cool about it." And like they thought that it was sweet. You know, um, I've had friends that I've told about it, and they checked it out. They watched some of the videos, and they're like, I kind of get it. Um, that, and even just being on Reddit and looking at some of the forums that are involved with the fart fetish, and a lot of women are posting on there saying, "Hey, I like this. I'm into this too." And I wasn't really expecting that. I thought it was just something that guys got into because you're exploring the other person's body, but it takes many forms, and I've been learning that recently. And I think that there's more of a conversation to be had. It's not just the way it's portrayed in the early internet, that there's more diversity involved.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. You shared a bit about your background in getting into uh the fart space, kind of exploring YouTube and stumbling upon fart. Do you have any other experiences from that time of kind of figuring this out, or coming to this place, or reasons why you thought, like, or what drew you to that kind of content, I guess?
As far as like online stuff, like I did watch a lot of like regular porn back when I was younger, and a lot of times it would be like videos that focused on ass and big asses, and they would spread apart, like you'd see the butthole, and then I was like hoping that they would fart, and then they don't because it's regular porn.
Right.
You know, so I did end up looking for those. Like, hey, can I find one where they do? And even like my friend who I Snapchat with him every day. I was in jail with him recently, and I told him about this, and he started checking out the videos, and he tells me, he's like, yeah, that I could get it. It's there's like a certain appeal to this, and I said, yeah, it's like it's doing something. Like when you're a kid and you buy a toy, like you have an action figure, you want a button where it moves an arm or something. You don't just want it to sit there. You want some sort of action to happen.
Hmm. Yeah, that's an
I don't know if
interesting
that makes any
perspective.
sense,
It does. I mean, it
yeah,
does. I think I agree. Like, I guess now that I'm older, there's a novelty to certain things that, maybe don't move per se, don't have a lot of bells and whistles. But yes, I agree. As a kid, especially, you do want things that are interactive and kind of push your thought, like push your boundaries of thought, I suppose, in terms of what's possible, because that all helps, I believe, you in the imagination building.
yeah. Uh, Another thing I found interesting about the growing conversation is like several comedians have actually done bits about the fart porn, like Louis C.K. He talks about how he stumbled upon it one time. He's like, yeah, you get to see your thing, but you also see what everyone else's thing is, and that he found the fart porn, and he talked about it, and thought it was funny. Just other people discovering it, even Haley Welch, who did the Hawk Tuah, she started a podcast, and Whitney Cummings was on the first episode talking about it. Like some girl said, instead of spit on that thing, she said fart on that thing. And she goes, "Oh yeah, that's a thing, the fart porn. I'm friends with a lot of comedians. They talk about it all the time. They think it's hilarious." Because you have to know that, for most people, when they figure it out, it's like for real. That they start laughing. And I remember you talking on your first episode of the podcast that it seemed to frustrate you a lot that people view it as a joke, and on more of an academic, psychological discussion level, that it's not being taken seriously. And I don't know. How have you thought about that as time has gone on, and you've been doing this podcast and talking with people? Has your opinion changed, or do you see it in a different way?
I wouldn't say my opinion has changed. I would just say my opinion has lessened. I mean, I think I'm always going to remain somewhat, on the more, um, farts are serious end, but not in like a, stay off my lawn type, or you kid stop having fun type way. I
Yeah.
think I think I more just am I'm a little more hesitant to embrace the comedy end, because I think in some ways that gives the media figures license to continue to demean us. And I only mean that, and someone shared an article on Twitter recently. They didn't like point out the headline, but the headline was something like, uh you won't believe the disgusting fetish that is number 2 on the whatever popularity. And just the use
Yeah.
of the word disgusting really puts me off. Like, I guess I think maybe, I think it was in Damien's interview. There's a, or maybe I'm thinking of somebody online. It doesn't matter. But the point is, there is
Mhm.
definitely, I can't deny there's a categorical disgust to this fetish. I mean, I guess there is, it's undeniable. I think I take exception when it's portrayed that way, because that gives, when the media portrays it that way, that gives people license to portray it that way. So I guess I come off as the like, oh, I want to be intellectual about this, because
Okay.
I really see the kind of downward slope that goes from like, oh, it's funny, the media doesn't take it seriously, people don't, but here's the thing, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm right or that that's the best perspective, because I do think the gateway to a lot of people's acceptance of this fetish is going to be through humor. So I will
Mhm.
definitely say that for sure. I think I just have a, and it's also the way I enjoy the fetish. I even though I guess I can enjoy other aspects of sexuality or intimacy, making out, yada yada yada, I'm still
Yeah.
fairly rigid in the fart domination space. I would see a pro
Mhm.
dom to get that kind of thing satiated, and try to request or make a session for something that's more in the dominating space, or whether it be creating AI bots or writing stories or whatever, it still very much gravitates in the cruel type domination space. So I think that also makes me a little more susceptible to like farts aren't funny, because they are so very tied to this serious sexuality that I enjoy.
I
So
get what
like
you
there's
mean.
a
Yeah.
there's a slight inability to separate that fully, to be like, haha, the I forget what movie it was, but like the fat cheerleader falls and lands on him and they make a fart sound in the movie. It's like, I don't necessarily get the like enjoy the humor of that. And I don't know if that'll ever change particularly.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're talking about media portrayal, it's just that's its own category. And even though it might be portrayed a certain way, I don't think that most people would reflect that in their own personal lives. Like even like homosexuality still gets a bad rap, even though pretty much
Sure.
everyone is cool with it.
Right.
Um, there's like I like to think about this work by Hannah Arendt, philosopher, wrote The Human Condition, and she talked a lot about how we have like public lives and private lives, and the two sides of the same coin. That it's kind of we need both as people, and the media is really just this monolith of public life, and then behind that we have our private life. And I think in a lot of ways, we all deal with farts, and we might not talk about them in our public life, but they all exist in our private life. So it kind of comes back to what I was saying about most people understanding and being able to sympathize and kind of see where we're coming from with it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Publicly, we might say like, "Oh, gross," but on a certain level, we're all like, "Well, we all do it."
For sure, for sure. Or even more, I mean, we all have something
Oh
weird we
yeah,
enjoy.
for
And
sure.
and I
Yeah.
think people do, if they can separate themselves or pull back from the situation, from their, like, I guess, initial knee jerk reaction. I think people will realize too that we're not that different. As that's part of this show, is to show people that the people that come on this show to talk about far fetish or even scat or whatever, like they're just
Mhm.
regular people who they have this sexuality they like. It's not quote unquote normal to society standards, but it's not hurting anyone, and they like other things too. They like video games, they like TV, they like, they're just like you and me.
Yeah, I think that that's the case with a lot of people that we tend to stereotype is that take that away and they're doing the same stuff as us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
that that ties in well to something you mentioned you wanted to talk about, which is like the changing content landscape of women
Yep.
farting videos or videos of women farting. Can you talk more about that and your feelings on it?
Yeah. So I was in prison for about 10 years. So I came out and wanted to check online and see how everything changed. And I guess it did change quite a bit. A lot of it is OnlyFans or other fan sites where women are seeing that there's a market for this and that they want to get subscribers and this whole subscription culture, even beyond the OnlyFans. Nothing is like a one-time fee anymore. They want you to pay every month for things. Um, that aside, though, it has brought a lot more personality into the whole business. And, I didn't think that I would want to do the OnlyFans thing. I'm like, I'm not going to fall for that. But I started seeing these videos by a woman goes by Victoria Tacos, and she looks a little younger. She's cute, and I found her on OnlyFans because I wanted to request this video from her. Like I wanted to see a farting on pancakes video. And when I first requested it from her, she's like, "Oh, no, I don't do any custom videos right now." Sent another message is like, "You just had me curious. Like, why pancakes?" I just thought that that was funny how she reacted like that. But I stayed subscribed to her. She responds to DMs. Might take her a few days, but I think she puts a lot of work into it, and I admire that. She's got a little talent, and yeah, even after the whole pancake request, what she did is like she crocheted a stack of pancakes out of yarn. Like she put her like that little effort, and this is the touch that you'll see now with these fan sites that you would have never gotten just browsing around on YouTube or Pornhub. Um, and I think it's kind of cool to be able to interact with the content producers.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's great. I mean, I don't know how common that experience is with other creators, but that is, I mean, that's really cool. I mean, something very personal like that is something maybe it's my negative perspective, but I never would consider that. I never would think someone would do something like that. It's like one thing to do a custom video, that's part of the business model, I guess, as it were. Yeah, the remembering something personal and making like a personal type of
Yeah,
novelty or gift, I suppose, is that's a really cool thing. I think that's really neat, and kudos to Victoria Tacos. I'm a fan of her content as well, but I didn't know her OnlyFans repertoire per se.
um, yeah. You see her content, but she has a Snapchat too, where she mostly posts a lot of stories about her everyday life, and I think it's been fun to follow that. Just it kind of get like a friend girlfriend experience from that. Just pretending like you know somebody. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't really have the opportunity to get out much and start a relationship at this point. Like getting out of jail, like I'm still on a lot of restrictions. So um, that's just been a way to experience that side of life for me, even if it's not the actual thing, but more of a simulation. Um, I also have been emailing with Ruby Farts. She was on your podcast at some point before.
Yeah.
She's another content producer that I have more like direct conversation with her through the emails, and we've gotten to know each other, and it's been a lot of fun working with her. Like she actually did do the request for the pancake video, and that was a lot of fun. Like I posted the story about that on Reddit, and it ended up being like this epic joke between, of course, me and Ruby, but also like I'm telling a few of my friends and people that live at the halfway house, and actually a couple of women that work as staff at the halfway house. And it grew into this hilarious project, and because she made the video farting on the pancakes, but then I also had her send me the pancakes afterwards. uh, and I don't really know. I just wanted to look at them and see them. Like kind of compared it to when you're at a baseball game and you catch the baseball. You just want to have it and look at it, you know. Uh, but I thought that the whole thing was a lot of fun, and I had her do another project for me, and yeah, she sent me like a fart in a jar that I have with me right here, actually. The whole time I was hearing about farts in jars, like I saw them on the news when I was in jail, and I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way, you know, I don't think it's actually going to travel in a jar like that, and they could really just be sending you like a jar of air. The whole thing seemed really absurd and out of left field. But I could actually open this right now and see if it did work.
All right.
There's like a little musk in there.
Hmm.
I don't know. I didn't think it would work. It kind of did. All right,
Nice. Nice.
but yeah, that was fun. That was the first time I ever opened one.
I was gonna say that's the first on this show as well. Nobody. I mean, nobody's one really talked positively first in terms of fart jars. First of all, but I mean, opening them as
Yeah.
well, opening one as well. Um, yeah, and the only reason people have spoken negatively about them is for pretty much the same reasons you're talking about. They can be, especially like the Stephanie Motto ones, the one that was very became
Oh yeah,
the press.
reality
Those are
TV
those
star.
are yeah, those I believe are very expensive, and just like you say, you don't know what you're getting, and can you even? It's not like you can audit it, or you're gonna send it to a lab first, and it's like, oh, can you
No,
like tell me if this is
which is why I told myself I was never going to do it. But I've been talking with Ruby for a while, and I've known her enough now. Like I trust that she would send me the real thing.
for sure, absolutely, yeah. That's not.
Yeah,
I don't want to associate Ruby with Stephanie at all. They're in
yeah,
a different class
definitely. Yeah.
entirely. Um, but yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool, and great that you have this connection with content creators that are equally, um, you know, good people per se. That I don't know Victoria Tacos that well, but I have a fair bit of knowledge of Ruby Farts, and yeah, she's great. So,
Mhm.
um, is there any media, TV, film, anything else that you recall watching in your youth or formative years that had farting as a prominent thing?
Oh yeah. I remember like that scene from Harold and Kumar. That was they had YouTube clips of that where
Sure.
they try and hide from people in the bathroom, and then like the two hot girls go in there and they have the battle shits and they're just farting back and forth. Um, yeah, that like not another teen movie. I think they had a scene like that too. It is like a lot of early 2000s stuff. I think I mentioned episode of Mind of Mencia where he had like a speaker mind booth, and this woman goes in there. She's like, I don't think it's fair that men could fart whenever they want, and then women can't. They have to hold it. And she's like, I fart a lot, and I want to be able to just do it like a guy. And then she ends up like farting a couple times in this booth, and I thought that was kind of hot. Um, and I'm trying to think like what else. It's I don't know. It's come up like even like on Two and a Half Men. There were like a few episodes where women farts. Um, it's here and there. It's just having this fetish. You'll end up like remembering those episodes or like scenes in movies. Like, oh yeah, I remember it was at that part because it stands out in our memory, or for me at least.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. That makes a lot of sense. Is there any part of your fetish or your sexuality that you feel like you struggle with or don't understand?
Um, it was kind of like troubling for me when I was younger because it was like the primary thing that would get me off is thinking about the fetish. Um, but I don't know. As time went on, I realized, it's not that big a deal. Like I'm still turned on by normal stuff, and I think like really the intimacy of being with someone and just organically going through that is its own experience. And the fetish is more of like a paraphilia, like a psychologist would call it. Um, and I think they're almost separate in a way. I don't know. I'm not saying that I have it all figured out right now about myself. I think as time goes on, I might mature in terms of how I relate to other people and what I view as sexual or intimate. I think that's a good thing. I think that's part of going through life and growing as a person. Even as a society, we're having different conversations about sexuality and especially gender a lot these days. It's one thing I did want to mention too, that as I'm learning more about like gender identity and what it means, this whole fetish of like, specifically women farting, and that's a very gendered topic, that, in order to like have the fetish and be turned on by a fart, like you first have to define them as a woman based on their biological gender. And it kind of got me thinking, like, is that really appropriate in today's day and age? Like, am I perpetuating this gender binary by, seeking this, you know?
Interesting thought. Interesting thought. That's definitely food for thought there. For all of us perhaps, because yeah, I don't know. Um, yeah, yeah. It's an intriguing premise. To uh, yeah. I'll have to think about that for sure. Continuing with my questions, are you in, or do you feel you have a community you're part of around the fetish?
Uh, Not so much because like I don't really know a lot of people in real life that are into the same kind of thing. Um, Believe it or not, though, like when I was in prison, it's a lot of guys in there that haven't had sex in years, and so I was kind of surprised to hear like a lot of people they would talk about like a woman who works there, a staff member. It's like, oh no, I love she's so hot. Like, oh, I would suck a fart out of her ass, or I'd want to eat her ass after a two double shift. And I was surprised to hear that like other guys are openly talking about stuff like that. I don't know if it was more of a joke, or I think on some level they were just so horny that they've gotten to that point where they're craving something extreme. Uh, but it did also make me think that this is something a little more common than you might think, that it might just be a normal human thought that evolves over time if you're just left to fantasizing for long enough.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That I could see that for
You know?
sure. I could definitely see that. I did want to say too. I didn't say it earlier. Maybe I'll cut it to where it's supposed to be. But I would encourage anyone who's interested to look at your story on Reddit, because that is how I came to know of you, and
Yeah,
invite you to come here. So yeah, I definitely found that a very interesting, and you tell it very well, very compellingly.
oh,
So
thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I definitely was caught struck by it. So I would encourage anyone interested.
yeah. I posted that story. I posted an older story too of like a neighbor that I had back when I was living in a condo. Like I wasn't doing much at the time, and so we would hang out all the time. I told her about my fetish, and I asked her like, "Would you fart for me?" And then she ended up doing it for me a few times one day, and so that was a fun experience. I wrote about that, and I don't know, there might be even a couple more that I could write about, just different times that I've like interacted with women's farts in real life and or had conversations with it. A lot of people they like to post fiction or like some of these real world experiences. I think it's like another genre that I haven't seen much, where you're not trying to make it into a hot story necessarily, but you're just talking about something that actually happened in an interesting way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you have a, obviously maybe not a perfect prose at the moment, but do you have a bit about any of those stories that you might want to share that you haven't, like about the, besides the neighbor and the fart pancakes?
There was a girl in high school that I met like in that same art class actually. And she was cute. We had kind of made eye contact a couple times, but hadn't really talked. And then one day, I was standing waiting because it was about to be the end of the class, standing by the door, and I heard her saying to someone else, like she was mad at him. It's like, don't say that to me, or I'll fart in your face. And it obviously caught my attention, and I went and looked over, and she saw me looking, and then there was just kind of an awkward eye contact, and she ended up like having a conversation with me a few days later, saying that she has really bad lactose intolerance, and that she struggles with holding her farts in all day. And I didn't have the nerve to admit to her that I'm like, that's actually kind of hot to me, and I wish you would. But um, yeah, she ended up farting a couple times around me though. And I thought like if I were to flesh that out and tell the whole story with more detail, it'd be kind of interesting too.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, then and sometimes in those situations you don't know necessarily. Like you think it's a good time, and then you maybe go forward, or the other timeline in life you go forward, and it's like she wasn't. They didn't actually want to hear that, or whatever. Or
Yeah.
maybe not. You never know. That's the thing about the what ifs, I guess, is like you can play them out in a variety of ways.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
What do you feel has most helped you grow in terms of your fetish and sexuality?
I guess seeing that I'm not that weird in terms of everyone else. I think when you're younger, it's harder to see the three-dimensional nature, that I talked about, like the tip of the iceberg, and then there's more. I guess I've been able to have more faith that people are more complicated, whether you see it or not. So, in that sense, I've grown to think of myself as less unique, uh, and just be okay with whatever I am. Um, and that's helped me grow in a lot of ways, sexuality being one of them. I don't really feel uncomfortable around other people's sexuality that's different from mine. I'll talk with people that are like gay, bi, trans, and just have like normal, cool conversations with them when a lot of people look at him like, oh, I'm not talking to him, he's weird. Or they'll, even say he instead of she just because they don't get down with the whole trans thing. I'm like, that's not really cool. I call them by what they want to be called. you know.
Of course. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That definitely that's great. Um going forward in life, do you feel like you'll be pretty public or private about this fetish, or like if sexuality came into the conversation, do you think you'd talk about it, or how would you handle that, or what will you do going forward?
Well, what I've noticed is that there's not really a lot of great times to bring it up without sounding random and weird.
Mm.
Um, and if it does come up, like, and we're talking about like stuff that people are into or what kind of porn you watch, and I felt that the people I'm around are pretty cool. I've known them for a little bit. I have no problem bringing it up. I'll tell people. It's actually it's kind of funny to see people's reactions sometimes. I'll kind of study like their facial reactions and the things they say after I tell them, just because it is like watching a movie in a way. Like it's unexpected, yet you really don't know how people are going to react. So it's actually kind of fun to me. I don't feel so much embarrassed by it anymore. Uh, Part of that could be that I've been through a lot of stuff that a lot of people haven't, like going to prison and just being publicly out there for making a bad mistake. And compared to that, like admitting something embarrassing about sex is not really a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see what you mean. I could definitely have some understanding of that that perspective. It may not be 100% analogous, but similar to people who have come on this show and talk about like being gay. If you're gay, it's kind of like having a fart fetish is a bit like not as bad as that. So I could see in your perspective of having like you say, your kind of persona out there in this negative way, the fetish is maybe not nearly as bad as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all relative. Yeah.
What do you feel like you value or appreciate, or and appreciate most about your journey and your whether it be fetish or sexuality?
In a way, I do think that I don't want to use the word convenient. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but like I know what I like. It's something unique. It works for me, and just putting all judgment aside, it's something I know about myself. And at the end of the day, we want to know ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. That's a really great point. It's actually a really great point to I'm coming unfortunately to the end of my questions. It's been really great to be talking with you, but I just wanted to end with what do you think about the future of the fetish, whether it be for yourself or for the community at large?
Uh, I think it would really depend on how the landscape changes of content, not just in fetish, but just the business of porn, I guess. I guess using like the term porn might be, I don't know, a little bit pointed, but I think with more people growing up online with technology, it's going to be more accessible and people are going to find whatever content they feel like looking for. And, there's still a lot of people out there that are older that didn't grow up with the internet and might think of it a certain way, but we're going to have old people one day that grew up online. And then the young people are going to have, some super form of the internet or whatever they have in the future. And I think it's going to be even more just super easy to check out whatever you're into or fulfill some sort of simulation. Like you're working on AI, I think that's going to take off. Might even like combine with virtual reality. They might have like a Ready Player One situation. Um, I could definitely see that becoming a reality. Um, and I think with that, we're going to have just whatever you want to see, whatever you want to experience virtually is going to be on tap. And with that also comes a lot of data mining and companies running algorithms to see what people like. And I think over time, that's going to reflect the truth of what people are into. And so we'll probably get a better idea of, just how popular or unpopular this is. And it's going to represent whatever fraction of the population likes it for, the content that's made.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. Are you at all in that vision of the future concerned about the over reliance on technology, or I guess the real thing is the disconnection from actual people in the meat space? What do you think about that?
I think we're already there
Well,
uh,
it's a good
in a
point.
lot of ways. We don't even call a store to order food anymore. We just, we have an app on our phone that'll bring it. A lot of times, just leave it at the door. I don't want to talk to you. If you want to be at home and do everything virtually, you can now. Like, it was kind of weird seeing that. Like I went through the whole COVID pandemic in prison, and I'm just watching through my little 13-inch screen all these changes that are happening. Like everyone's working remotely, no one's going to work anymore. Like, oh, that's kind of convenient, but at the same time, you're losing something. And I think to mention the human condition again, Hannah Arendt, it's like we take these steps, and the more we explore the world, the smaller the unexplored space becomes. Or a lot of these milestones. Actually, this is Harari who wrote *Sapiens*. He said that all these revolutions in human technology, while they've allowed us to do a lot more, they've taken us away from our nature of how we evolved. Like when we invented agriculture, we were able to make more food reliable, but we were having less variety of food, and we didn't know the land as well. We don't have that intimate connection with our earth. I think in a lot of ways we get more into this virtual living. We might be able to connect with people all over the world, but in reality, we're not connecting with anyone physically face to face. You see the catch 22 there.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I think you could parse it out to like similar to not knowing the land. I mean, as computers and whatever get more user friendly, people don't even know the technology. But beyond that, I think the most important part you said is and what I mentioned as well was the losing human element. I think you're right that we're already there. I do think we're it won't be in our lifetime, but there will be a realization that this was perhaps a mistake. And I don't speak as like a Luddite or a anti-technology person at all. I guess we're at that age where, human connection is still valued. And I think the younger you go, the Gen Zs or what have you, the harder it is to find an appreciation of that. It's still there. I'm sure it's still there, but the
Yeah.
bars are still full of people on Friday, Saturday, whatever nights, maybe even weeknights. So people are still out there, in public. It's just there's less reliance, I think, on meeting people. There's less safety, not safety, but less feeling of comfort around meeting people in person. It's almost like the app is the gatekeeper to meeting in public in many
Oh yeah.
cases. So
Don't even get
yeah,
me started on these dating apps.
for
I
sure.
tried
Yeah,
them like thinking it's going to be like, oh yeah, I'll meet tons of people. People were talking about Tinder. Like even Family Guy had an episode as if it's like ordering pizza. Oh yeah, you could just have sex every night with Tinder. The reality is the opposite. That everyone's just browsing and like, yeah, I'll click on this, I'll click on that person. Oh, they're kind of cute, and no one's really looking to actually do anything, or they're thinking they could find someone better. It's um, I don't know. It's almost like a blow to your self-esteem. Like I made the joke. I'm like, I was feeling pretty good about myself, so I tried online dating, and that put a stop to that.
that's
uh,
pretty good. That's pretty good.
you know, yeah, yeah. It's another example of technology seeming like it's going to do a lot, and then it might not so much. Like I meet people in real life, and I'll have a connection with them, and a lot of times I'll hit it off with people, but I don't know if that same connection would have happened online with a profile picture and a description because then I'm not a person, I'm like a brand.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. I was gonna say, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
filtering mechanism, but yeah, the brand is a good way to put it. We all have
Yeah.
become brands. I mean, some more than others depending on your field, but regardless, in the way you've mentioned it, yeah, we are all brands. It's like what do I put on my profile? What activities do I put on my profile? What activities do I not put on my profile? What pictures? The hacking of like, oh, I better, I need pictures of me having fun with other people, or they're gonna not think I'm fun, or they're gonna think I'm a loser because I have only pictures of me by myself, or whatever. All the psychology that goes into all of this.
Yep. It's a marketing expedition.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, I
Which
wish we had a
really
more positive. What? Go ahead.
no, I said it's really not like what we mean to be doing as human beings. It's kind of like anti natural interaction. I don't know. Struggling
For
to find the
sure.
word for it, but I think you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do. And I was gonna say, I think I wish we had left on a more positive note, but online dating is not the most positive world. Um, but I will say positively, I do appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. As I said, your writing is very compelling. So any more you do in that space, I think would be a benefit for the community, if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, writing has actually been like a passion of mine for a while now. Not necessarily like fetish writing or sexual writing, but just writing about life, like creative nonfiction, has been something that's been healing for me. I don't want to go and share my blog on this podcast, but I do with people that I know, and I'll link them to my work.
For sure.
But as far as yeah, like stories about like fart fetish stuff or just experiences with real people, I'd like to contribute more of that if I can, at least be a different voice in this milieu.
Yeah.
Not giving the typical narrative of stories, whether it's like the hypersexuality or the domination aspect. I kind of want to go for more realism and show different shades of humanity. Just having this conversation with you right now on the podcast made me realize that there might be more value to that than I had given myself credit for before talking.
Certainly. I certainly think so. Like I think your voice would be a welcome addition to the space in whether it be fiction or nonfiction or both. Yeah, I think you have some great ideas and great things to say, great perspective to share.
Mhm. All right. Well, also, I thank you for inviting me onto the podcast.
I just want to jump in here with a quick epilogue. Everything you just heard was recorded in November of 2024 when I talked to Alan originally. But he's back here. This is now March 2025, and he wanted to provide an update. So, Alan, what's going on with you?
Oh, thanks, Raj. I just wanted to jump in and give an update about how everything's been going since then. Yeah, I actually found someone online in one of the dating apps, believe it or not, and we've been talking a lot. We started seeing each other, and I've liked that it's been a really open, honest relationship. One thing about having this fetish is that I always thought it would be an awkward hurdle to get over anytime I'm dating someone, where I'm like gonna have to bring up this kind of embarrassing thing, depending how you look at it, or something people don't really expect. And it came up in conversation. We were, kind of kissing for the first time, and I mentioned it to her, and I guess she kind of laughed a little about it and said, believe it or not, one of the guys online that she was talking to had asked her to fart in his face. And I was like, really? And I asked, like, well, would you have done it? And she said, yeah, and kind of laughed about it. So it wasn't unheard of to her. And it's been something that we've talked about a little bit. She's had some questions about it. Even the other day, she said, like, well, if I did that for you and I farted in your face, like, what if it smelled really, really bad? I just kind of laughed at that. I'm like, I don't know. I guess that's, part of the unpredictability of it. And I don't know. It seems like a question you wouldn't expect if you're someone in this community. Something you'd laugh at.
Absolutely. That's really awesome. Have you explored this at all with her, or just basically been something you've discussed?
It's been something we've talked about. I'm not going to try and push it. I think at some point, if she feels like she's comfortable doing it, then that'll be something that we're more open about. I don't know. Other than that, it's been like a really healthy, open relationship between the two of us, and I feel really good that I was able to bring it up and it was accepted. And that's part of the reason I wanted to hop back on here, is because it's a topic that I see a lot in these forums and people talking about the fetish online, is that they don't know how they're going to bring it up with their partner, or they have this sense of loneliness. So I just thought it would be a good message to come back on here and say that there's people out there that don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think most people would probably be understanding if you come about it in the right way and you're just kind of human about it, and don't make it weird, I guess. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up in the update, and also mention that I'm going to try and get back into writing some fiction every now and then. I was on, I think, the eproctophilia subreddit, and I had just kind of put it out there like, hey, I'm thinking about writing some fiction. Is there any topics that people are interested in? And I got a response from a content creator, actually goes by Goddess Peach, and she gave me a pretty good idea for a story about like using virtual reality to create like a world where this woman can be in control of the guy and fart on him. And I thought that was a cool idea, so I wrote that. I put it on Reddit, and I think you put it on your site, the Fart Closet. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to put that out there that I'm probably going to write some more. And if you find me on Reddit and you have an idea, just let me know. Maybe I'll use it.
That's great. That's great. There's always need for more and more great writers, and I have definitely enjoyed your writing. It's very detailed and a fresh voice, I would say. So yeah, I look forward to
Thanks.
seeing what else you got.
Yeah, I like to do that. There's a lot of the same type of content, and I think maybe if I add a little bit more of like a storytelling, character building element, and just create a different feel, sometimes I think it's, yeah, like a fresh voice.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, unless you have anything else, I appreciate you wanting to come on and give this update for this episode, and I look forward to hearing about your exploits with this new partner and whatever else you get up to, including your writing.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for having me back on and let me do this update. It's can't wait to hear the episode come out.